The MythBusters are stepping out for science.
We want some destruction.
Can you destroy a bridge using just the rhythm of marching feet? Smile with confidence.
We're using the ones that were on the top of the toilet.
But is there more in those bristles than meets the eye?
Sit down more.
And ski boat or rowboat? Jamie and Adam test the myth of human horsepower. Who are the MythBusters?
Am I missing an eyebrow?
Adam Savage.
I always enjoyed seeing Adam in pain.
Oh! And Jamie Heineman.
Jamie wants a big boom.
Between them, more than 30 years special effects experience.
Feel kind of sexy.
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test.
All right, Adam, so we're standing in front of this bridge and we're wearing silly hats. What are we doing?
Well, this one is called Breakstep Bridge, and it's actually at least a couple hundred years old. The idea behind it is that soldiers marching in formation in sync across the bridge might actually destroy that bridge.
The myth says the problem happens if soldiers' marching rhythm matches the bridge's natural vibrations. They amplify the wobble, increasing pressure on the structure. According to folklorist Heather Joseph Witham, history records that as a dangerous combination.
The first instance we know of this occurring was April 14th in 1831. The Broughton Suspension Bridge spanned the River Irwell in Manchester, England. There was a group of military men marching across this bridge when a pin collapsed and a chain broke and part of the bridge actually collapsed into the river.
The rhythmic marching was blamed, and signs like this one on the Albert Bridge started to appear. Break step, soldier, or break the bridge was the warning. Don't believe it? A similar thing happened to the Tacoma Narrows Bridge in 1940. A particular wind set the whole structure vibrating, and once it started, it couldn't stop till it collapsed.
Adam, do you have any experience building a bridge?
No, but you know, that hasn't ever stopped me before.
So here's the plan. The guys will build a bridge and a miniature army to walk on it. Then they'll see if the rhythm of the footsteps can make it vibrate. If it works, the vibrating should get bigger and bigger, like a kid bouncing on a trampoline. Fueled by a heady mix of ignorance and enthusiasm, Adam the MythBuster becomes Adam the Bridge Builder.
They're making a suspension bridge. Oh, okay.
Never one to think small. Adam's first ever bridge will be 60 feet long and 6 feet high, a mini Golden Gate. Essentially, he's making long, flat, strong boxes. He'll need 6 exactly the same to join end to end to make the roadbed.
And I've only got to make 12 of these, you know, in like a day. I've done more work in less time.
He's also been known to do less work in more time, but today he's making progress.
That's pretty good. Take the extra time on the front, save it on the back. Life is good.
Do you remember the guy in the beret and the mustache on that? Well, that's me. Yeah.
Life's good for Jamie, too. He's on the hunt for a piece of equipment, and it turns out the guys who make it are fans of the show. Better still, they send a whole box full in no time.
Wow.
Jamie has a new toy.
This is a brand spanking new Kinetrol actuator. These would normally open and close a valve on, maybe in some industrial process.
Only Jamie could get excited about a piece of industrial equipment. But then only Jamie could see its potential to make little marching robots.
Put a crossbar on here with a shoe on the end of each crossbar, and so as this thing swings back and forth like this, the shoes will go up and down, and this thing will go up and down, and that's our walking mechanism.
If all goes well, it won't be long before Jamie's hearing the pitter-patter of little feet in army boots.
There's a lot of unknowns here. Nothing we're not used to on MythBusters.
What is known is Adam's finished the 6 sections of road deck. Now, the 2 uprights, which stand at either end of the bridge. Not bad for a first attempt. 60 feet of steel.
This is not comfortable in the least.
Good job, by the way. This is a nice piece of work. This is like one of those Marine Corps obstacle courses, right? It's like, how fast can you?
But I could do it faster than that.
I don't think
Not
so.
much faster.
Many people feel it's a bad idea to train around jagged steel edges. But all Adam is concerned about is making this thing twang like the world's longest guitar string.
The goal is to get this bridge to tune it to about 3 hertz, which is about 3 beats per second, which is about a soldier's marching cadence. And then once we get that, we put our frequency oscillator on it, basically a big weight that hits the bridge at the right moment, boom, 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 and we'll start to watch the bridge go, you know, wiggy every time we hit it. Should be pretty cool. Damn it. Sorry. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm really sorry.
No, you cut.
Yeah, I'm cut.
It's easy to forget this is risky work. One slip and bloodshed's not far behind.
It just went through the outer layer.
Only a flesh wound, he says. Adam showing a bit of British stiff upper lip. Of course, not everything the Brits do is so rigid. In June of 2000, the new Millennium Pedestrian Bridge across the Thames in London got off to a very shaky start.
It seems to be swaying.
Not that bad, is it?
Well, it feels bad to me. It feels weak.
The bridge had to be closed for fear it would collapse. Turns out it had a slight sideways wobble, and crowds subconsciously swayed with that, making it worse. It eventually reopened after modifications. Back at Mythbusting HQ, Jamie's army is falling in. They might not look much now, all plastic helmets and 2 big boots. But to test this myth, Drill Sergeant Heineman will turn this spare parts outfit into a well-drilled marching machine.
Building the bridge.
Adam is soldiering on despite his injured arm. The MythBusters backlot is about to become a theme park with the addition of a 60-foot suspension bridge. 2 main cables span the length of the bridge. Lighter lines run down to the road deck. The whole thing tensioned tight as a drum.
We may just be able to walk on this puppy.
Drum roll, please. Adam is a happy camper. It seemed a bridge too far, but it wasn't.
I have to say this is one of the more satisfying things I've ever built.
Now, in true MythBusters fashion, the only thing left to do is see if it can be shaken to pieces by Jamie's soldiers. But first, there's some other busting to do. It's the unspeakable myth. The one you just can't flush away.
There's poo everywhere.
Is there more than toothpaste on that brush?
There's actually a bunch of myths around and surrounding bathrooms and cleanliness and ideas of what the clean parts of our house are. But actually, I think the main idea behind this myth is that the bristles of a wet toothbrush make an ideal collection surface for things like airborne bacteria.
There's no rosy way to say this, so let's cut to the chase. What we're talking about here is fecal coliform bacteria, the bacteria that lives, well, you know where.
The belief is that you shouldn't leave your toothbrush in the bathroom, and particularly not too close to the toilet, because there's all sorts of bacteria floating in the air, which ends up on your toothbrush and therefore in your mouth.
Adam, you know, before we even start this experiment, we should probably do a simple test to see whether the toilet actually produces an aerosol.
You mean like whether when it's flushing it actually makes little droplets and vapor that go everywhere?
Exactly.
Some color in the water, and Adam's got any flying droplets covered.
Ready?
Okay, go. Oh, I see some drops. All right, well, there you go. The aerosol part of the myth is definitely true.
Yeah, these are probably the least of our worries because we can see these and they're big, heavy drops. What we should be concerned about, I think, are the ones that we don't see, that are little tiny things that may be going who knows where.
But can those tiny droplets drift all the way to your toothbrush? The MythBusters aim to find out.
Well, do we have a plan?
Of course we have a plan. This is MythBusters. The reason we've got so many toothbrushes here is because we want to lay out a really broad test pattern to see if distance from the toilet, orientation to the toilet, and height from the toilet affect the number of fecal coliforms that we can find when we test the toothbrushes.
Adam has clearly given this whole dirty toothbrush thing an awful lot of thought. In no time, he's fitting out the bathroom in the MythBusters workshop.
I'm going to use this PVC and some fittings to make a pair of toothbrush racks. And so the rig begins.
Forget fancy blueprints. He's making it up as he goes along. It only has to last for a month.
Ow! It's not pretty, but it'll do.
What the hell have you done in my bathroom?
We are going to set up 24 toothbrushes in this, and every morning we'll have a protocol. And we will each be responsible to take each toothbrush, wash it in distilled water so we don't cross-contaminate, and put the wet toothbrush back. Then there will also be 2 controlled toothbrushes on top of the toilet that we will brush our teeth with, and at the end of a month we will check and do fecal coliform tests on the toothbrushes and see which ones have gathered the most.
Next up, the brushes. The guys will wash their hands with antibacterial soap every time before they touch them to prevent possible contamination. And importantly for the experiment, this bathroom will stay open for business. A chart will keep track of exactly how much business is getting done.
What do you think 1, 2, and 3 would be? 1 would be...
Urine.
2 would be...
Fecal matter.
And 3?
I don't know, what's number 3?
Let's say perhaps an aerated approach to dispersing fecal matter.
For a breath of fresh air, 2 more brushes will be kept in the office, away from the bathroom.
Jamie, these are our external controls. Uncontaminated toothbrushes outside of all the experimental conditions. We'll rub these with a little toothpaste and rinse them with the water as well.
If fecal coliform bacteria are found out here, there'll be embarrassed looks all round. It'll take a month, but the MythBusters hope to answer a question that lurks in every bathroom. Is that toothbrush safe? Heard the one about the rowboat and the water skier?
Sit down more. I'm straight.
Stanford University has. If they pull this off, they'll become myth-busting immortals.
This is Apollo 13, baby. In Houston, we don't have a problem.
Big guy, what is the one we're doing today?
We have a new sport. It's called row skiing.
Row skiing.
Yeah, you water ski behind a rowboat.
So what, are we gonna get out a little dinghy rowboat? I'm gonna start paddling as fast as I can while you try and get up on water skis?
Actually, it's skiing behind a rowing 8. Now that's an 8-person rowing shell. The question is, can we get up on a plane with water skis behind a boat like that?
So we're gonna ask 8 strapping young lads in the prime of life to yank our sorry asses out of the water?
That's the gist of it.
Skiing behind a rowboat? Who ever heard of such a thing? Folklorist Heather Joseph Witham says this myth was made up by rowers for rowers.
You're not going to have construction workers talking about a rowing 8 or water skiing, but you're going to have rowers talking about this. Probably not even water skiers, because this functions for rowers as a way to comment on what they're doing, as a way for them to comment upon their sport. It's saying, look how fast we manly men can go.
The fast, manly men at the Stanford University's varsity rowing team have confidently agreed to put their egos on the line to test this one.
Picking up the water.
These boats are $30,000 worth of carbon fiber rocket ship.
That's up.
With crew on board, it weighs nearly a ton. But the acceleration isn't like a motorboat. It surges and sinks with every stroke.
It is about accelerating only when the blade actually enters the water. Once it's out of the water, it's all poetry and love sonnets. Everything is cool and easy. Once the blade goes back in, it's dark and violent thoughts.
Sam, stay focused.
A racing crew will be having those dark and violent thoughts about 40 times a minute. Going fast, they'll generate a boat speed of about 15 miles an hour. Skiing is normally done at 20 or more.
Have you heard the myth about water skiers being pulled behind these boats?
Yeah, I think it's urban legend, but we're out to prove them wrong.
You think it can happen?
I don't know, man. These guys got legs like steel and arms like pipes. I think they can do it.
Even at top speed, they're slow by skiing standards. And that's before they add the drag of the skier. But failure is not a word in this coach's vocabulary.
You know, I got a feeling that good things are going to happen. I think we might have a new business. We might be pulling people here. These workouts might be a good way for us to go faster.
Amazing to watch. Made me feel pretty fat and old.
They're so in sync, and there's so much testosterone flowing on those boats. You can just feel it. And, you know, we give them a real challenge, like get this guy up out of the water. They're going to be, you know, just scrambling for it. It's going to be fun to watch.
Now the MythBusters have a big problem. The athletes might be up to the challenge, but neither Jamie nor Adam knows how to ski.
You must be Willie. Adam.
Adam, nice to meet you.
Hi, Willie.
They don't just need a fast teacher, they need the water ski Terminator.
Good. So you guys are skiing now?
We're here
You
for
want to
some
learn
lessons,
it?
yeah.
Okay. We're gonna get the lessons going here.
This will be an unusual session for Willie. He'll be teaching them how to go slow. He was a champion skier in Germany before moving to America and turning pro.
Go about 1,500 RPMs to establish the minimum speed for him to ski at. This would be about the same in terms of speed, what it feels for him behind the rowboat. Jamie, move on and out on the boom.
Beginners start on a boom, not a rope.
When the boat pulls, keep your shoulders back. Don't let them come forward. Ready? Yeah.
This is why I wanted Jamie to go first.
Made the mistake in bending his arms. He got to keep his arms straight consistently. Arms straight. Keep them straight. Slowly stand up. Okay. Get your shoulders up, Jamie. Stand tall. Get your shoulders up. There you go.
Jamie's a fast learner, but he's going more than 20 miles an hour. The water feels solid.
I'm going to slow you down to the speed behind the rolling boat. 15 miles per hour.
When Willie drops the speed, staying upright gets harder.
Jamie, slowly sit down. Get in the squat. Sit down. Sit down. More. Sit down more. Arms straight. Okay. Slowly stand up. Yeah. Get your shoulders up, Jamie. There you go. Very nice.
Perhaps it's just fear of upsetting Willie, but Jamie is skiing like a natural. Turns out he's just as good on the rope.
That felt pretty good. We did get it down pretty slow. I think we just nudged 10 miles an hour, which is, my guess is probably the minimum that we can really reasonably expect to stay up on the surface of the water. The slower you go, the harder it is.
Now it's Adam's turn.
never had a pair of big old paddles strapped to my feet before. We'll see how much of a fool I make of myself. Hopefully a lot.
In fact, he does just fine. He's on the rope in a jiffy. Unfortunately, his legs give out a jiffy after that.
I think Adam is one tired cookie.
Even with the falls, Jamie and Adam have Willie's seal of approval. They're ready for the challenge.
I do believe that both skiers you have here, Jamie and Adam, can do this. I think the only difficulty that I can think of is for the crew to generate enough speed initially to get him out of the water.
I tell you, Jamie can have this one. He can water ski behind that boat. I'm not in shape. You know, it's all this like upper thigh and lower back power that you've got to do, just like halfway in this crouch. And a couple times I just dropped because I had no more strength.
I think if the guys are actually physically capable of pulling me through the water, that I can do it. You know, it's just a question of how fast they can get going with that kind of load. It's all up to those Stanford, you know, butch guys.
Stanford will get its chance. But first, there's that other nasty myth to attend to. The MythBusters have become slaves to dental hygiene. Every morning, they carefully wash their hands, put toothpaste on each of 24 brushes, and rinse them off again using distilled water. Lesson 1, never give Adam a squirt gun.
Hey! Oh, sorry, Paul.
Next, they clean their teeth using 2 very special brushes.
We're using the ones that were on the top of the toilet, the closest ones.
At the end of the month, they'll test the brushes for fecal coliform bacteria. If nothing else, they've busted the myth that television is a glamorous industry. Today, it's toilet bowl close-ups.
Mate, you've reached the pinnacle of your career.
They couldn't get any better than this, could it?
Toilets and cleanliness are the subject of many an urban legend, including this one.
There's a young couple honeymooning somewhere in the Caribbean, and they come back to their room and they see that it's been ransacked. They've been burgled of just about everything. There's only 2 things remaining: their camera and their toothbrushes. So they go out and they purchase new clothes and other necessities, and they end up having a fantastic time. So they get home and they develop their film. And upon looking at the different photographs, they get to one that, what's that? And they notice that one thief has taken a picture of the other thief mooning, and the picture is of his backside with their toothbrushes sticking out.
Jamie and Adam aren't swallowing any of this myth. But they are professionals, and they're on the scent of something big.
You know, given that I've had toothbrushes sitting near toilets for nigh on 30 years at this point, 35 years, it doesn't bother me at all.
It's a long, boring, dirty job ahead. But if anyone's qualified for this sort of work, it's the MythBusters. Jamie Heineman has one of the world's most unusual day jobs.
Nike wanted us to take a shoe and turn it into a motorcycle, a radio-controlled motorcycle that looked like something that somebody would actually build. And it was to illustrate how fast the shoe is, because it's an athletic shoe.
His company makes special effects props for ads and movies.
We had to start off with pre-existing motorcycles and check them out and learn how they were put together. And then we modified that kind of thing and ended up actually pretty much building from scratch an entire motorcycle mechanism to fit within the shoe. They wanted us to run it on AstroTurf. We this thing even having even a small pebble is like running over a speed bump. That's what I live for. That's what I enjoy doing. If I have time off, I'm down here at the shop. You know, sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night giggling with some idea, and I just come down, turn the music up, and all of a sudden I've got this thing that nobody ever thought of before, or didn't exist before.
Now the guys are using the same ingenuity when it comes to testing the breakstep bridge. But seeing as no one would let them wreck a real bridge, Adam has built one himself. And Jamie's built, well, he's built these things. Not just one, but 12 little dudes. Custom-made stompers, whose mission is to shake this bridge to death. It certainly got the neighbors talking.
So Ed, have you heard the story about the breakstep bridge?
Yes, I have.
What have you heard?
Well, I've heard that there was a battalion of men, soldiers, walking across the bridge. The bridge was supposed to have wobbled and tumbled.
That's what we're going to try and replicate here.
It's great. It's great.
The plan is to hook the soldiers up to an air compressor, normally used to power a jackhammer. Jamie's little guys should start marching. If they get the speed right, that should set the bridge vibrating.
They're going to launch these things. It may like flip the whole bridge over or something with the first turn on of the switch.
There's no way these are going to flip my bridge. Not even close.
This was built to last.
Okay, let down.
Maybe it's not indestructible after all.
All right, cool. At least we're finding all the weak points. All right.
A few repairs, and the bridge is over its troubled waters. And now they're ready to wreck it.
I say we go for it.
Okay. You're the bridge builder.
Power on. Remember, Jamie's worried the force could tip the bridge over.
Jamie's made a doo-wop group, not a battalion of soldiers. It's like the California Raisins.
The boys are looking a little wimpy. Seems Jamie's not feeding them enough air from the compressor.
This has to have 2 hoses on it.
Hey. Seems that Jamie didn't really inspect the equipment with any real Heinemann eyeball before testing the compressor.
Okay, here we go.
This time, there should be less doo-wop and more destruction.
Now we're talking.
They've got plenty of power now, but the soldiers aren't perfectly in time. They're not getting the single regular vibration through the bridge called for in the myth. Instead, those boots are just smashing Adam's road deck to pieces.
This is bothering me.
Well, sorry. It's
I wish you'd thought about that, because it's just like people are going to watch this, is going to start to smash up the stuff without it moving, and people are going to be like, what the f are you telling us?
To get the timing exactly right, Jamie will have to individually adjust the airflow to each of his soldiers. It's a fiddly process, and fiddly is not Adam's strong suit.
I have to say that actually at the very start of this, Jamie and I had a big argument about whether or not to do this electrically or pneumatically with air. And I strongly suggested that we not use air. I explained it to him in great detail, and he decided to ignore a good portion of it.
I'm pleased that the actuators are definitely doing what we needed. They were the right choice for this job, and they'll certainly go as fast or as slow as we need to get them to go. I think the biggest problem is not my little soldiers, it's the bridge.
There's blame in the air. But it's not always easy to destroy a bridge. In a master stroke of forward planning, this one in North Carolina was completed just before a dam was due to flood the valley. So, gathered around a very small table, the authorities decided to knock it down. First, they piled on huge weights. That only resulted in an amazing new use for animated arrows. So, they called in the Air Force, but the flyboys were having an off day. So was the artillery, come to that. Finally, mines did the trick in spectacular fashion. Adam and Jamie are desperate to destroy their bridge with a bucking bronco vibration that shakes it to bits.
When we hit the resonance of the bridge going up and down with them will be extremely rhythmic and will get bigger every time. And it'll actually be pretty catastrophic.
Catastrophic destruction is the desired outcome for most MythBusters experiments. So, for the third and final time, Jamie's army is readied for combat.
All right, Jamie. Nice and slow.
The troop is marching its metal heart out, but it can't match the frequency of the bridge. There's no wave of vibration rolling through the roadbed. Something's got to give. They've broken the bridge, but only through sledgehammer power, not sweet harmonic vibration.
All my cables held.
Yeah, it's these things are starting to
yeah, look,
working.
the whole thing parallelogrammed.
Yeah.
That's where it failed.
These things appear to me that we were just beating on the thing. And while the beating was in a certain rhythm, I don't see the bridge responding to it in that rhythm.
Jamie's army will be sent home in disgrace. But like the two last soldiers left out in the jungle, the MythBusters refuse to accept defeat. Jamie is already planning another monster robot to attack the bridge. They might have lost the battle, but later in the show, they will resume the breakstep bridge war.
I think I could get this bridge back up and running in half a day.
Well, looks like we're not quite done, but it was fun to see these guys pound away. They were kind of cute, weren't they?
They were very cute. Cute for science.
There's absolutely nothing cute about the toothbrush surprise.
I'd like to point out the difference between my toothbrush and Jamie's toothbrush. Bring it up. Jamie's is neat and perfect. Mine is absolutely trashed. I don't know what that says.
The only good news, this is the last day before the brushes will be tested.
I get them wet, and then I foam the toothpaste on, and then I rinse them out. We could do a myth about how fast paint dries.
For the last month, they've been testing the myth that microscopic fecal coliforms can waft from your toilet onto your toothbrush when you flush. A month is a long time for this kind of work.
Watch every action-packed second as water and toothpaste meet in a fecal coliform farm of total destruction.
To see if there really is something to worry about, the MythBusters have called on expert microbiologist Dr. Joanne Engel. She's going to subject the MythBusters bathroom to more scrutiny than is strictly desirable.
So I'm taking the toothbrush and I'm spreading it on the auger here, so if there's a lot of bacteria on here, it'll grow. And then I'm also dipping it into this bacterial broth. And again, if there's just even a couple of bacteria on here, it'll grow overnight after I incubate these in a nice warm oven.
Every single toothbrush is sampled.
These are the ones that we've actually been using to brush our teeth.
It's been a very busy bathroom. But there's also the 2 controls kept out in the kitchen.
This is the first time either of these toothbrushes has been in the bathroom.
Okay. But they've been brushed with,
Yes.
right?
They've undergone the same treatment.
But I'm going to incubate them in a 37-degree oven overnight, and if there are bacteria on here, we should be able to see them.
The whole gang is relieved to finally be getting out of that little bathroom. And soon, they'll know for sure if their toothbrushes hold an unwelcome surprise. The MythBusters are ready for the water ski challenge. Can you ski behind a rowing 8?
So you ready?
There's more than a myth on the line this morning. Stanford University has volunteered its best crew for the job. Their reputation is at stake, though Coach is playing it cool.
With the expert crew that MythBusters has provided, I believe that there's no way we can fail.
First things first, these perfect, fragile rowing shells don't come standard with a ski rope. The MythBusters have got to tie one on without tearing a hole in the boat.
If we run a line of thin, like high-strength cord to each one of these outriggers times 8, that's more than enough distributed load across the whole boat, and you ought to be able to water ski all day behind it.
All day, huh?
It's only your thighs that are going to give out, buddy.
By distributing the load over the 8 riggers, Adam will minimize the strain on the boat and the rowers.
For the most part, these guys won't even be able to see this rig. It won't affect their rowing at all. $30,000 per boat. We don't want to put a nick in the darn thing.
That's the ski rope taken care of. But that's the easy part. The bare minimum speed required to pull Jamie out of the water is 10 miles an hour. In a race, a crew can reach 15, but Jamie's drag is sure to slow them down.
It would certainly help if I weighed a lot less than I do. I weigh about 170, 180, and you know, if I weighed 100 pounds, and I'm sure it'd be easier on them, but that's why we came to Stanford.
Another problem for Jamie is, unlike a speedboat, the power here won't be constant. It will surge with each stroke, pulling him off balance. Coach has a strategy.
You're gonna have to just be the walk-on guy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And just withstand the herky-jerky, it's gonna whip you.
Yeah, I know, I've got to dampen it.
Remember, for Jamie and Adam, this is just another myth. But for Stanford, it's a matter of honor.
And just sit up. Don't think length. Think connection of hips and straight arm cable and draw. Let's have the boat just tug them a little bit.
Suddenly, Jamie's being dragged into something bigger than he realized. It's too late for second thoughts. This is about sporting glory or national televised failure. And there are no excuses.
Explanations did not get the man on the moon, and it will not get this MythBuster out of the water. Okay? This is Apollo 13, baby. In Houston, we don't have a problem. Get ready. Attention. Go! Go! Quicker! Wait up! Ho! Ho! Hey! Hey! Stop rolling! If you're not pulling, stop! Jiminy Jack Christmas. These guys are still rolling.
So close. He was up, but couldn't hold on with the surge. This might just be possible.
Jamie, man, that was beautiful.
It was working.
You think you can get it going?
It's just in a state of constant, almost out of the water.
Right.
It's the hardest thing that a skier can do, I think.
Well, you think you're good for another go?
Oh, yeah.
Excellent.
Nice lock on, big dog. That was all you. That was all you. We got to be quicker with the second stroke or longer with the first stroke.
It's just going to be up to me to maintain it, I think.
Sam, same thing that you guys just did.
So, Jamie Big Dog Heineman prepares to battle the surge again. The guys in the engine room have proved they've got the muscle to get him up. He can't let them down.
Attention! Go! Stay up. Come on, dog. Stay up. Come on, big dog. Stay up. Yeah! Go! Bring it up! Bring it up! Boys!
Jeez, we had him.
It's close, but still no cigar. These Stanford guys won't settle for near enough. Jamie will ski even if it kills him.
Power was there. I was having trouble dealing with the surginess.
Try and put the weight back when that surge hits you, so you got a little more hip and power into it, because it's gonna surge.
Yeah, that wasn't bad for the first 2 runs, though.
No, well, we ain't done yet. We're pulling your ass out. You're gonna be doing this thing without a wetsuit and the beret and glasses on if I can have my way.
Bring it up, guys. Let's pull this boy out of the water.
Tiny, man, that was twice as good as last time. You think you can do it twice as good as that?
I'll keep trying.
Just need like a good 30-second run.
Come to the steer. Come to the steer.
This is the third and final attempt. Coach can smell something special in the air.
Stay tough, all right? Stay tough. They're enjoying it. It's like you guys are right on the cusp of both meeting together at a higher plane. Looks good. I want you to put him on a ride that he won't forget. So once you get him up, keep him up and let's get his skin tone a little bit fearful, a little white. Let's scare him. Jam on it. Let's do something that's never been done. Here we go. Attention, go!
He's up and he's skiing.
Nicely done, Jamie! Yeah! Keep it going, big dogs! Keep it going, big dogs! From that boat! From that boat! From that boat!
It's not pretty. Jamie's fighting every surge, but they've done it.
Nice job, big dog! Yeah, guys! Yeah! Nice job!
Jamie's run lasted nearly 40 seconds.
I'm pleased as punch. That worked better than I'd ever hoped for. The fact that I could do this says that it ain't as ridiculous at all as we thought. Yeah, it was a workout. I was breathing hard after that. It's like, whoa, whoa.
Good job.
Stanford's finest have prevailed and proved this weird myth really is possible.
Never underestimate young, strong MythBusters. One of those good things about youth is they don't know obstacles. You the man, or as we say, YDM.
YDM.
Flush with success, the men now have to see the woman. The toothbrush surprise results are in.
Did we actually find any fecal coliform on the toothbrushes?
Well, we did, but in fact, all the toothbrushes.
That'll leave a bad taste in your mouth, but the slides don't lie. Those little pink dots are fecal coliforms found on the brushes, and it made no difference how near or far they were from the toilet.
Can we say that the exposure to the bathroom or to the air contaminated these with a small amount of fecal coliform?
So that'd be one interpretation, but recall that you also exposed these guys to distilled water and some toothpaste, and they got handled a little bit. So it could have also come from other sources as well.
But brace yourself, folks, there's more. Remember those control toothbrushes kept outside the bathroom.
There was also fecal coliform on our controls, which were nowhere near the bathroom.
That's right. That's these guys here. So they have some pink colonies on them, too.
Unpleasant as it seems, fecal coliforms are virtually an unavoidable part of daily living. But it's not all bad news.
So, you know, this is perhaps the most critical question. Should the American toothbrushing public be worried about our results that there's fecal coliform on their toothbrushes?
No, I don't think they should be. It's a very low level, and as you can see, we're all happy and healthy standing here and been exposed to that.
Easy for her to say. Adam and Jamie have just learned a valuable lesson. Some myths are best left unanswered.
You know, we put our bodies on the line a lot on this show, but brushing my teeth with fecal coliform for a month, that goes just a little bit farther than I really wanted to go. There's poo everywhere. What are we gonna do?
The MythBusters are rebuilding the Breakstep Bridge.
We weren't really happy with the collapse of the bridge the first time on the Breakstep Bridge, so I'm putting it back together, and we're gonna try it a second time, a little more scientifically, perhaps.
The science of this myth is the regular rhythmic footfalls of marching soldiers can resonate within a bridge, causing it to collapse. And the challenge is to induce a regular vibration that gets bigger with every beat, till the whole thing shakes itself apart. Wind caused a similar thing to happen in a famous collapse at the Tacoma Narrows. So far, the MythBusters' attempts with little marching soldiers failed. So instead, Jamie's making one big heavy one.
That's starting to be pretty cool. That's we're getting a nice, controllable harmonic out of this thing. I think we have what we need to work with.
Could this be the monster that will destroy the bridge?
The mechanical arrangement on the soldiers was such that it was a little more messy. This thing, I think, will be able to isolate what exactly is going on by being able to watch just this.
We've got this fairly large wave, but we want to hit that wave exactly at the perfect time each time it comes back. And that's what it is to match a harmonic. So if the timing's even a little bit off, we won't be correct at all.
So, in the name of inducing wanton destruction, the MythBusters lay it on the line one more time.
A little faster, maybe? That's too fast. Slower. Yeah, you see how it got canceled out? We had something there for a second. Go back and... That's really close.
Believe it or not, that tiny little wobble is more success than they got last time. But they can't seem to turn that ripple into a tsunami that will wreck the bridge.
And we'll get a lot more reaction with more weight on it.
All right, let's try it then.
Ah, the old MythBusters motto, when in doubt, add something heavy. Now bear in mind, Adam has bled for this bridge. It was big, complicated, and time-consuming. It's his pride and joy, and he really wants this to work.
Let's go. Faster. Oh!
Once again, the bridge has failed before any real vibration got going. All that hard work has come to nothing. Adam's taking it quite well. Best just stand back for this.
Who wants some destruction?
Feel better now?
I do feel better now.
Good for you.
The bridge is dead. Adam killed it. For all their time and effort, they couldn't replicate the myth. Maybe this one just never happened.
My thinking on this would be, given your average platoon of soldiers and your average large suspension bridge, there's no danger they pose to the bridge. I'd say the myth is totally busted.
It would have to be that they were so close to the overloading weight of the bridge to begin with to create that kind of force that I think it is truly a myth.
Excellent. Let's pack this puppy up. I'm tired of busting myths today.
Okay.
In this episode,
he's digging his own grave.
The MythBusters take on the mob. searching for Jimmy Hoffa under Giant Stadium.
I really don't want to know who put him here.
They test the taxi tornado. Can a jet engine blow a car right off the road? And braving the daddy longlegs. Is it really the world's most venomous spider? Who are the MythBusters?
Am I missing an eyebrow?
Adam Savage.
I always enjoyed seeing Adam in pain.
Oh! And Jamie Heineman.
Jamie wants big boom.
Between them, more than 30 years special effects experience.
Feel kind of sexy.
They don't just tell the myths.
Farewell, cruel.
They put them to the test.
Jimmy's supposed to be over here, right? Hey, slow down.
Jamie and Adam have always wanted to play at Giant Stadium just outside New York City.
Yeah, the ground feels great on your feet, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's meant to.
It's like carpeting.
Their game isn't football. It's something far more sinister.
What are we here to do? We're looking for Jimmy Hoffa. Well, here we are in New Jersey, Giant Stadium. What other myth could we be doing?
Has something to do with Hoffa, doesn't it?
Exactly. This stadium is supposedly the final resting place of Union boss Jimmy Hoffa.
The residents know all about this story.
Coach, have you heard the myth about Jimmy Hoffa being buried here at Giant Stadium?
Oh, absolutely. That's the first thing I heard about when I was here in '91. I was assistant coach.
What have you heard about it?
Well, everybody says he's buried right here on the 10-yard line, probably about a foot behind where you stand right there. And there used to be a hump right there.
A hump?
Yeah, and there was even the story, and it's true, that a player was running for a touchdown and tripped over the hump and fell down, and they said that's right, tripped over where Hoffa was buried.
Jimmy Hoffa was a ferocious fighter for workers' rights. As powerful head of the Teamsters, he was investigated over alleged mob connections and misuse of union funds.
Expenditures that I needed at that time, I can't recall offhand. And this was in cash also? That's right. And no collateral, no, that's right. And no interest paid. That's right.
Teamster boss James Hoffa surrenders to U.S. Marshals to begin serving an 8-year prison term for...
In fact, he only served 4 years after the sentence was commuted in 1971. But in July 1975, he disappeared without a trace from a Michigan parking lot. Many believe he was murdered by the mob to stop him from regaining control of the Teamsters.
Why do people think he's here in Newark, New Jersey?
Well, there is actually a little bit of evidence to that fact. The FBI got a tip that he was buried in concrete here at Giant Stadium. And the stadium was built between 1974 and 1976. So the construction window is correct if someone had a very sick sense of humor that they might have buried him here.
The best way to answer this myth is just to dig up Giant Stadium. But it's very big, and time is short. So the MythBusters have another high-tech idea, and they'll test it back at the workshop. They're a little out of practice. To replicate this myth, first up they're digging a hole in the concrete, big enough to conceal a body.
You know, something tells me today is going to be really unpleasant.
Adam doesn't know it yet, but he's digging his own grave.
What's that?
What? Nothing.
The guys have already learned one thing. It's hard work hiding a body.
The guys that buried Jimmy Hoffa, wherever that might be, were probably doing it in the middle of the night, and they were probably a little bit more preoccupied about what they were doing than we are.
Jimmy Hoffa's murderers may have had a backhoe. I mean, we're talking about the East Coast mob.
Right now, Adam would kill for a backhoe. But things are about to get worse.
Gloves, get your Tyvek suit on.
For the next part of this test, they need a body or two. The idea came from another MythBusters misadventure involving a Corvette and a deceased pig.
Oh, God. This is horrifying.
Yes, it's Porky's return.
Oh, I can definitely smell it through the mask. It's pretty rank.
These guys died of natural causes down on the farm, but their final resting place is entirely unnatural.
Man, the flies are buzzing all over them bad boys.
You've got to feel sorry for PJ. He's just delivering the cement.
Yeah.
So, PJ, specifically, have you ever heard about the fact that Jimmy Hoffa is supposedly buried in concrete?
I've heard that he's buried on the 50-yard line at the Meadowlands. He disappeared so smooth and so clean. I don't think you'll ever find a trace of him. And the fact that everybody feels that he's buried there, he's probably long gone.
Cut it, cut it, cut it.
The MythBusters will try the same vanishing trick with the pigs.
Isn't that good? Stop. The smell is, it's pretty bad. All right, hold on, here we go. Okay. What? That stinks.
Everyone here and everyone for 5 miles downwind is hoping PJ's cement will seal in that smell.
How long for this to set?
Not long. Those gases might seep and escape while this mud is hardening up.
I swear I think I can smell it through the concrete.
Oh, hello. Its smell bubbles up as if to say, hello.
The quicker they dig in, the quicker the smell will go away, or so they hope.
That ought to do.
I want you to sign this little waiver here just in case the sidewalk explodes or whatever.
Okay.
And they'll say, well, PJ's cleared on that. Okay. It's all in the name of science, though,
It is
right?
all in the name of science, exactly.
But it's more than science at stake here. According to folklorist Heather Joseph Witham, the Hoffa myth is buried deep in the American psyche.
We tell stories about Hoffa because he's this wonderful American hero, anti-hero, because he's the quintessential American worker, and because there's this tremendous mystery surrounding his death. And it involves the Teamsters Union, it involves mob bosses. It's a wonderfully American story. In essence, it's a great mystery.
It's a mystery to the guys how that pig smell is still escaping the hard concrete 2 weeks after the burial.
Without a doubt, we completely failed to take into account how tenacious the smell of rotting dead pigs can be. It's caught us in every way that it could catch us.
In desperation, Jamie covers the whole stinking slab in a latex seal. It's a timely lesson for our trainee mobsters. Out of sight is not always out of mind.
If you were some kind of a nefarious person trying to do something like this, I would suspect that you might have a similar problem unless you were really careful.
It's something to ponder. Those pigs will teach them everything they need to know before embarking on the hunt for Hoffa. It's the taxi ride from hell. You just wanted to go to the airport, but end up getting blown away.
That was really cool, and that really sucked.
The story goes that at the Rio de Janeiro airport, there is a road that runs right behind their main runway. And there's a red light there that keeps you from going across that road when there's a plane about to take off. But a taxi driver ran the light and found himself stuck in the jet wash of a 737 about to take off at full throttle.
And his taxi gets thrown up 25 meters in the air and flips over 3 times and falls down, and the guy's hospitalized with pretty serious injuries.
A 737 blowing a taxi off a runway? That's a myth to get Jamie and Adam interested.
Well, it kind of makes sense. I mean, those have thousands of pounds of thrust, don't they?
Apparently they do. This is what's coming up for us to test.
So the challenge is to see if jet engines are powerful enough to roll a car. Big machines and wrecking stuff. the MythBusters' 2 favorite things. First things first, they need to hail a cab.
Here you've got a cab for sale.
Yeah, we do. This is a 1999 Chrysler or Dodge Intrepid.
Sure, the MythBusters plan to destroy this cab, but no one wants a lemon.
Is it okay if we drive it around the lot once?
Well, yeah, just don't leave the lot.
Okay. It would be quite an elaborate way to steal a car, wouldn't it? Bring your own camera crew?
Yeah.
$900, not bad for a 3-year-old car.
Yeah.
What do you guys want them for?
Well, have you ever heard the myth about the airplane that started up its jets and blew a taxi off the runway?
Nope.
Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to try and get a jet to blow this thing around, see whether it actually works or not.
Hey, as long as the price is right, you guys can do anything you want.
$900 seems a small price to pay for this level of destruction.
I got taxi receipts for the next 10 years. Oh, yeah.
Proud owners of a stylish new set of wheels, the MythBusters now have some pretty serious modifications to make.
We need to rig the car for remote control because we are going to be driving it behind a jet airplane as it takes off. And what it'll do to this car is going to be pretty impressive, I believe. And I don't want to be inside there when it happens.
So they're creating a full-size, remote-controlled taxi. But there's an annoying speed bump that develops on the way.
Okay.
Who'd have thought? Cheap car, dud battery.
Well, it seems that you have to take the car tire off to change the battery. I mean, what is the point? It's probably because somebody built the damn thing in a computer and doesn't have any sense. Piece of crap.
While Jamie curses all things modern, over in the art department, everything's sweetness and light.
I'm making a stencil so that we can stencil our taxi cab with the MythBusters Taxi Company logo. We're going to spray this on the front of the car and on the hood and on the sides of the car.
Well, I've got the old battery out now, finally, and the new one in, so we'll see whether this piece of shit can start.
It lives. And now, to tame the beast, Jamie's an old hand at fitting remote controls to cars. In fact, he gets quite a kick out of it. For this job, he'll need remote control of the accelerator, brakes, and steering wheel.
There'll be 3 controls, and I'll be able to operate this car from, I don't know, a couple thousand feet away or something.
First up, the throttle.
We simply removed the cable from the cruise control and have hooked it up to this little servo here with a special fitting that I make for this very purpose.
That little motor will pull the throttle cable when Jamie gives the order. Jamie's got a lead thumb. Next up, the brakes. A remote-controlled piston is welded to the pedal. It'll act as a kind of bionic leg.
When you're welding, you can't really see other things that are going on around you. You know, you can see the weld okay, but not little bonfires that happen to be starting right all around you.
While Jamie plays fireman, Adam is moonlighting as a sign painter.
I love it when works out. All right, let's put some taxi stripes on this puppy. I think Jimmy and I should drive around and pick people up.
With nobody in the front seat.
All right. Not without a remote control steering wheel, they won't. This job is proving a little trickier than expected.
It's going to blow the steering servo right off.
So in the interests of safety, the airbag is coming out.
This actually makes me kind of nervous. You know, this is like a bomb sitting right here.
Did someone say bomb?
Now I think if I take these two little wires right here and hook up current to them, we get a boom.
Adam and Jamie engage in some lighthearted fun.
As usual, Buster, the long-suffering crash test dummy, will bear the brunt of this harmless fun.
Okay. All right.
Now we'll see if we can't get Buster to do a somersault.
Can I do it?
Go ahead. Oh well. I'm thinking that I'm just gonna sock this pulley right onto the two holes that are centered on this steering wheel. When I'm done, this will stay rigid and the steering wheel will turn, like so.
Nothing to it, really.
Seems like it's working.
Another Heinemann triumph. Sometimes he makes things look a little too easy. Adam's got another bone to pick.
There's a reason I wear black, so I can get really dirty and it's harder to tell. Jamie is wearing a white shirt. His hands look like he's a coal miner, and I'm having trouble spotting a stain on the damn shirt. It just makes me want to shake his hand and then slap it on his chest.
So they finished their magic taxi, and now it's time to take it on a road trip to destruction. Of course, no adventure is complete without the forgotten MythBuster.
Buster's got to get dressed and get in the cab so we can go, and we're all waiting on Buster. He's not luggage, he's the star of the show.
Okay, well then, that means that every time we move the car, we have to remove Buster.
No, he doesn't go in, he can go in the passenger seat, that's all, the passenger seat.
Okay.
He seems a little reluctant to come along for the ride.
There you go. Jamie's much stronger than I am. I'd say he's unusually strong.
Everyone knows this trip will end badly for the taxi, and probably Buster too. But undeterred, the MythBusters ride on, in search of a 737 jet willing to blow their car off the road. Dawn in the Mojave Desert, and the MythBusters are on a mission. This is where America's airplanes come to die, or at least rest for a while.
We're here at the Mojave Desert Airport at a storage facility where they keep jet airplanes when they're not in service.
Even though it's 6 in the morning and I am not the greatest morning person alive, I'm in an airport salvage yard with huge husks of planes around me. I'm in pig heaven.
They've come to this junkyard nirvana to test the jet taxi myth, which claims the jet blast from a 737 on a Brazilian runway blew a taxi right off the road. To the MythBusters, this seems a disaster worth recreating, so they've converted their very own taxi to remote control.
I've had nights like that.
Yeah.
It's not that maneuverable, but we don't need it to be. We just need to get it out and into the jet wash, and we're golden.
Now, there are two vital ingredients to this myth: the taxi, which they have, and a jet, which they don't yet. But they have arranged for one to be waiting just across the airfield. Jamie is getting excited.
I guess the biggest excitement is that we really don't know for sure what it's going to do. Those jets have an awful lot of power, so you got to think that it's just going to pick this cab up and throw it.
I think this taxi's just going to turn into like a leaf in that kind of blast.
Now, it's hard to miss a 737 in an open field, but here's a worry. Theirs is conspicuously and disturbingly absent.
Hello. Yep. Yeah, okay, all right. Yep.
The insurance company has decided the stunt could damage the aircraft and pulled the plug.
The whole reason this is an issue is because we can't control, we don't know what the jet will do to the taxi.
That there's no way in hell that taxi is going to do anything but go farther away from the jet.
There will be no plane on the ground, and there is certainly no love in the air.
So we got a yes yesterday and a no today. It's just like, it's driving me crazy. Here it comes. That's our plane, man. That was our destiny. Oh, that would have flipped our taxi. I want to see a taxi flip. You know, we came all the way down here where they've got a plethora, a congerie of planes, and, you know, we can't get one started up. And there's so many bazillion different reasons why we can't get one started up. It would boggle your mind if I explained even 5 of them.
But the show must go on, and the MythBusters are moving to Plan B.
Plan B, I believe, involves a separate engine without an airplane that we can hire to be brought to where our car is, and that'll do the job.
They're going to bring in 2 jet engines to be operated off stands. It won't make Adam feel better, but the fact he found this story on the internet really doesn't mean it actually happened.
I can't tell anymore whether a newspaper story online is true or false. It's really just impossible because a lot of the internet legends appear as news items. And newspapers often pick up urban legends and repeat them as news.
Early the next morning, the MythBusters' new grounded engines arrive. They're normally used to generate wind for movie special effects.
These engines are turbojet engines, and they're at the nozzle, at the tailpipe nozzle, we have about 400 miles an hour as far as I could measure.
Do you think we'll be successful today at flipping our taxi over?
It's a difficult project. I have no idea. It'd be interesting.
The plan is to fire up the jet engines, then drive the taxi past at a range of 20 feet. That's where the combined blast should be the strongest.
I wouldn't really want to be in the car when it goes by them, but I'm not so sure that it's going to be that dramatic.
I think the whole thing's just going to go and roll over 3 or 4 times. I think Jamie's being a little pessimistic.
There we go. That's a good one.
All right, Buster. You ready to fly?
Let's go. Start them up.
They might be smaller than a 737, but these jet engines still pack a punch. A combined output of about 7,000 pounds per square inch. Now, like the Myth, the cab will take its chances, running the gauntlet through the jet wash. It was a rough ride, but the cab didn't look like it was being flipped.
It affected the car.
Yeah,
it made it wiggle a little bit.
Whoa! It took the gasket out of the door. I gotta say, I was a little disappointed. And not only because Jamie was right and I was wrong.
What we'll do this time is just park the car in the absolute optimal spot for the jets to hit them, and we'll let those guys aim them correctly, and we'll see what happens.
The jet engines are moved in, closer to each other and closer to the car.
Ready to go?
Ready to go. Let's go.
Let's get everyone going.
Attention, everybody, we are ready to go.
If the near side rises just enough, the blast will bounce under the car and flip it. They have to abort early. This is a working airport, and debris is flying all over the runway. First, the taxi sign, then the front fender, the back fender, and the mirrors were taking off next.
You know, that was cool and that sucked all at the same time. That was really cool and that really sucked.
And here's an unexpected development.
That's a hot car.
Yeah, it was smoking.
The blast from the jet engines has heated the car up.
There's every possibility that we could set the car on fire. That got it really hot. The whole car was starting to smoke.
In fact, that was more likely than they realized. The fuel lines have been torn out too. Adam does not want to play with fire.
That looks like gas. Jamie?
Yeah?
We should get this off the runway. I'm disinclined to proceed when we've got a leaking fuel tank and we're pointing flaming jets at this car, but we're gonna try and siphon it out.
While the tank is being emptied, the jet engines are being moved to a safer position for one last try.
Nicely done, Jamie.
Is that good?
Keep going, keep going.
And a few modifications are made to help the taxi on its way.
We're just trying to get this car to flip. We know it can flip. We're just trying to help it along. We've let the tires out on one side. We put it on a little bit of a slope. We are jacking up the side that faces the wind, and we should get a rolling cab.
If this doesn't work, it's safe to say it never will with these engines. The meter is running, and time is nearly up for this myth. It's official, the flip is a flop.
I think this is a first for us. It's a MythBusters failure. We're unable, through reasons of technology and, well,
insurance
brokers, to make it happen. What do we say here? Do we say that the MythBusters are busted?
Well, you know, we just couldn't afford the right jet, is what it amounts to.
Wah, wah, wah. Let's call that a day.
But it's not quite a day. Turns out this one really is true. In January 2002, Rio de Janeiro TV News captured the aftermath. A taxi did indeed drive along an airport access road at the wrong time, and a revved-up 737 blew the car 75 feet, injuring the driver. And the MythBusters thought they had a bad day. It's been several months since Jamie and Adam buried 2 pigs in concrete outside their workshop. They're hoping it will help them bust the myth Jimmy Hoffa is buried at Giant Stadium.
Hi, Dick. Adam Savage.
They've enlisted the help of Dick Sylvester, who's skilled in the use of ground-penetrating radar.
Dick, can you walk us through exactly how ground-penetrating radar actually works?
Certainly. The antenna right here is a little radio transmitter and receiver. And so pulses are sent to the antenna, and these radio transmit pulses go into the ground. And where there's a change in soil properties, or there's an object underground, then the reflections return and are printed on the graphic recorder we've been looking at.
You just drag it, is that it?
So this orange box transmits a signal down into the ground. If there's a body or a cavity where a body used to be, it should show up on this screen.
What this is showing you, the ground surface is here, and these are features underneath the ground surface.
Dick, have you ever used your ground-penetrating radar to look for bodies?
Yes, as a matter of fact, in Alaska, where they wanted to move some burial grounds of natives, we used the radar system up there to map the bodies, and then they excavated them and moved them.
But how will this fancy piece of equipment perform through solid concrete?
All right.
Will Porky show up?
Ready?
Yeah.
Go.
Jamie has to make a series of passes over the area.
If I saw this, that would tell me that that's rebar in the concrete.
And in fact, there are 4 lengths of rebar.
There are.
See? You can't hide that from me.
All right, good. Yeah, we forgot about that.
Another crossing, another reading, and sure enough, clear signs of the secret lurking beneath.
But
that's correct.
What I'm seeing is here's a rebar.
Yeah.
And then I'm seeing this is very particular to the area, it looks like. This feature, which I don't see below, and I don't see above, and I don't see on either side, which leads me to believe.
Yeah, so the white pattern here is a change in reflectivity characteristics. So it says you have some object there that's different than the dirt that we've been looking at on either side.
Exactly.
In the psychedelic readout of the monitor, it's hard to picture exactly what's going on down there. There's really only one way to find out, and it will not be pretty.
We've got some pigs that have been in the ground for 5 months. We've seen what kind of profile they draw on the ground penetrating radar. And in our preparation to search for Jimmy Hoffa, the last step is to crack open the sidewalk and see what they look like down there.
It's possible Egyptian archaeologists experienced similar emotions as they were about to open a tomb for the first time. Possible, but unlikely.
Check that out. We cracked the seal, man. Look, it's like an open void in there. And I gotta tell you, I don't miss that smell.
You know, Adam, I was kind of looking forward to this, but that first strong whiff, it's just, it's not fun doing this.
It's just plain wrong. Wow, can you see that? Can you see, I see a pig, oh man, a pig-shaped armhole. Oh man. You know, I'm thinking maybe we take the night shot camera and put it down there instead of going down there ourselves.
Okay.
Oh!
Well, let's get this cleared out.
Irresistible curiosity is a cruel master. It's got the better of the MythBusters again.
Put it in slowly. There we go.
That's it.
Go down farther and tilt up. Oh, that is disgusting.
Sure, but he's still looking.
Just a tiny bit. Oh, yeah, look at that. And to your left. Nicely done. Hey, Jamie.
Yeah?
I think we have determined one main thing that we wanted to know, which was that a decomposing body in concrete will form a cavity.
Yeah, that's true.
We've shown that. So that's exactly what we're going to look for with the ground penetrating radar. So, you know, our work is kind of done. We can just fill this in and we're ready to go.
I won't argue about that.
At last, they can put a lid on this rotten chapter for good. But they've learned what happens to a body buried in concrete.
God, it doesn't smell anymore.
And how to find it with a radar. The MythBusters are ready to begin the search for Hoffa. It's a myth to sink your fangs into. Arachnophobics need not apply.
Oh, this is terrible.
Is the daddy longlegs really a deadly killer?
All right, big guy, what is the myth? What do we got now?
The myth is that the daddy longlegs spider is actually the most toxic spider in the world. But the problem is that their fangs are so short that they can't penetrate human skin.
If it's true, this would surely be nature's cruelest trick. Venom to kill an ox, fangs to kill a gnat. But imagine all that poison hanging around our homes. He's not letting on, but Adam's afraid of spiders, a fact certain to come back to bite him sometime in this myth. But for now, he's bravely joining the hunt.
I guess, you know, they live in garages and under houses and stuff, and I have a garage. Do you have a garage?
I have a garage. Maybe we should head over there and try and catch some.
All right.
And so the MythBusters descend into the dark and hidden places beneath Jamie's house.
These just might be the deadliest spiders alive.
They'll need a lot for what they have in mind.
Got him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jamie's boldly delving in. Adam's doing his best. Turns out this is Daddy Longlegs Central.
Crikey. Ooh. Oh, that's a good one. Jamie, I'm curious why your house turned out to be spider heaven.
I like spiders. We have them as pets. It was about that big. Yeah, it was as big as a dinner plate. We fed it mice.
They've wrangled about 40 spiders.
Got it. All right. There we go.
Now, to test this myth, they have to extract some venom. They also have to find out how toxic it is. They'll measure the spider's fangs to see if they're long enough to pierce skin. And last, as a conclusive test, enter the tube of death. But that's later. First, the MythBusters need an expert spider milker. They've lured arachnologist Chuck Christensen into their web.
How do you get venom out of something this small?
Well, actually, if you make your tools small enough and you use enough magnification, it looks quite large.
I'm hooking up a spider milking pump.
First, to stop the spider struggling and hurting itself, it has to be put into a shallow sleep.
How do we anesthetize a spider?
Okay, we use carbon dioxide gas.
Do they go to sleep or do they die?
They go to sleep and they'll come back. They should be fine.
The sleeping spider is carefully positioned on a special clamp.
So we'll take the spider in, we'll put it, position it with the fangs on the opposite side of this.
What we need to draw the venom out of the spider is like the longest, thinnest, hollow tube you can possibly imagine. It makes your average like insulin syringe look like a 10-penny nail.
That's made by heating and stretching out the tiniest glass pipette until it's hair thin. Under a microscope, the tube is positioned near the fangs. Then a really clever trick. A tiny electric shock is delivered through the clamp, which induces the spider to produce venom.
Okay, there's a little bit of venom coming out.
Oh, I see it. There it is. Look at that. That's excellent.
Okay, that's the venom we got right there.
Excellent.
So that's just a few nanoliters of venom, a few billionths of a liter of venom.
Science in action.
A few billionths of a liter of venom. It's a shame they're not doing this experiment with the Australian funnel web. They're cranky little guys, and by comparison, their fangs are venom fire hoses. It would take an awfully long time to get enough Daddy Longlegs venom to carry out a meaningful test.
For one drop, we need about maybe 100, 200, 500 spiders, just for one drop of venom.
A really good spider milker can work through 100 spiders an hour. It's a challenge no self-respecting MythBuster could pass up.
So I take a sleepy spider.
Can you see the fangs there?
I can. Okay. Ooh, yeah.
It's really hard working this small. You have to have a very steady hand.
That's it. Oh, that's hard work. So there may be venom in there, there may not.
As spider milkers, the MythBusters make good TV hosts. But how toxic is this venom? Chuck's research can help with that too. Under strictly controlled conditions, with a vet present, he's compared the impact of Daddy Longlegs venom and Black Widow venom on mice. The results were clear.
With the Black Widow, we had a much stronger reaction. It was the same amount of venom, so clearly the Black Widow venom is much more potent.
So we've already busted one part of the myth, at least, in that the Daddy Longlegs venom is not the most toxic in the world. The Black Widow venom is clearly more toxic.
Exactly.
The Black Widow is generally regarded as the most poisonous spider in North America. On the world stage, the Brazilian wandering spider takes the points, ahead of the funnel web. But that doesn't mean the guys are finished with the Daddy Longlegs myth.
Well, I guess the only other thing now is to find out if the Daddy Longlegs can actually bite a human.
And that would mean if the fangs are long enough and if they're powerful enough to stick it through human skin.
Yeah.
our skin can be as thin as 1/10 of a millimeter.
There's a fang right there. Oh, those are so tiny.
Under the microscope, it's clear the fangs, though small, are longer than that.
That's 1/4 of a millimeter. That's more than long enough to break through the dead layer of skin on an average person.
A bunch of green link spines.
Which leaves just one test left, a test of nerve in the tube of death. For arachnophobic Adam, it's his biggest nightmare. But urban legend is full of spider horror stories.
There's a spider's nest in the woman's beehive, which was the fashionable hairdo of the day. And then the eggs hatch and kill the woman. Or you have someone who gets bitten on the face by a spider, but they think it's a mosquito bite or a pimple, and instead it fills up and gets bigger and bigger, and then it just bursts and all these little spiders go crawling all over her face and she dies.
Adam's coming clean.
I should perhaps mention at this point that I do suffer from a small amount of spider phobia, otherwise known as arachnophobia.
If he was hoping for sympathy, he's sorely let down.
Oh, that's funky. Oh, I don't like this at all. This is really awful.
The idea is to encourage the spiders to bite. If Adam survives, it's the ultimate myth busted.
This is like your worst nightmare, what you feel when you're sticking your hand in something. Ah. Ah. Oh, this is terrible.
All their information says he's perfectly safe, but right now, rational thought isn't coming easily.
We haven't seen any evidence at all of lethal daddy longlegs spiders.
Not yet. Oh, dude. Can I take my arm out of here?
No way, man.
Oh.
The only way Adam's getting out is with bite marks. And at last, a spider seems willing to oblige.
Ooh. Yeah, I think I just got bitten right here.
You got bit?
Yeah, I felt
great.
a little bit of like just like a tiny little burning. But he landed right on my index finger, and I felt a little tiny burning. I looked, and he was down, and he came up, and he walked away, and now it's like it's already gone.
Yeah,
I don't feel
exactly,
anything.
exactly. That's it. That's it.
Well, that's not that toxic. Hell, that isn't so bad.
Adam survived his worst nightmare. He's feeling braver already. Even better, they've comprehensively busted the daddy longlegs myth.
Congratulations.
I got bitten.
You deserve it.
When former Teamsters boss Jimmy Hoffa disappeared in 1975, everyone blamed the mob. But no one was ever convicted of the killing, and nor has his body been found. The mystery has intrigued the country ever since.
In one legend, his remains were disintegrated in a rendering plant. In others, his body was encased in concrete and put in a strip club in Los Angeles. In other stories, he's in Florida swamps. He's at the bottom of numerous lakes, particularly around Michigan, where he disappeared.
And he is also said to be somewhere here at Giant Stadium in New Jersey.
Does the myth do anything, add mystique to the team?
Well, I think the players talk about it, you know, and the young players probably don't even know if the older players haven't talked about it. But if you're here and you work here and you coach a player, you know that this is a spot that everybody says. It's not the.
The MythBusters have honed their body-finding skills, practicing with ground-penetrating radar on buried pigs, and are ready to shake this myth up.
So what happens if we actually find him?
I tell you what, you'll remove all the myth. It's fact, but you're gonna have a hard time. I think it's probably pretty deep in there.
Adam and Jamie have never been afraid of going deep. They'll search the locations most often referred to in the myth.
We need to hit section 107.
Yep.
We need to hit the 50-yard line, the end zones, and then there's the bump on the 10-yard line, I believe.
The 10-yard bump.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Go. First, the 50-yard line. As Jamie drags the radar across the hallowed turf, Dick can see exactly what's happening in the mysterious soil beneath.
Okay, target. It's where it should have been. It's all uniform.
There's nothing buried here, but the system is working perfectly.
So we would definitely be able to see like a big Jimmy Hoffa shaped void in the structure on the concrete.
Absolutely. That's correct.
And we didn't see it.
No, not yet.
But they have just begun to search. The next target, Section 107.
How's it looking?
It's all pretty uniform across here. Go ahead on row 6.
Go ahead.
The MythBusters are doing a comprehensive sweep of all 41 rows. If Hoffa is hogging a high-priced seat, they'll soon know about it.
The data was excellent. There was no anomalous features that I would interpret as being a body.
So nothing looked at all like our pigs in concrete?
It did not. There was no features like the pigs.
All right, well, what's next?
Let's go on to the next site.
All right,
all right.
Over here.
Start your run.
Go.
Maybe the MythBusters will score in the end zone.
All right, end of number 2. We're in the perfect position.
But what if they do? It's not a prospect to be taken lightly.
We're not disrespecting Jimmy here, not at all. We're not making any statements about his politics whatsoever. All we're interested in is taking some science to the myth, whether or not he's here. Don't even want to know who put him here. I really don't want to know who put him here. If someone told me who put him here, I'd forget about it.
Adam can breathe a little easier for now.
Nothing? Nothing.
Jimmy is not in the end zone. They have just one last target.
I'm putting the flag roughly where the bump is supposed to be. Coach told us that, in his opinion, there is no other place that Jimmy Hoffa is supposed to be buried but right here on the 10-yard line, 3 feet this side of the 10, what they call the bump.
Go ahead, Jamie.
Go.
This is the most anticipated pass of the whole adventure.
You gonna pull it?
I am. Did you get anything there?
Right here is where he went by the bump.
Yeah.
As you can see, it's pretty uniform all the way down through.
The same as other stuff.
Right.
No bodies. There's nothing but testosterone, sweat, and desperation at the 10-yard line. The MythBusters have come up empty, but the Hoffa legend will live on.
I think if MythBusters doesn't find anything at Meadowlands Stadium, it actually won't impact the legend or the belief at all.
Don't you say that I'm a communist.
He's so tied up in the fabric of what it means to be American that I imagine his legend will last for a very long time.
If there is any, and don't use this as a sounding board for headlines for that purpose.
The mystery of Hoffa's final resting place remains just that. But at least the MythBusters have shown for sure where he isn't.
So what's the verdict?
Well, we searched every one of the mythic sites at Giant Stadium. Section 107.
Busted.
The 50-yard line.
Busted.
The end zones.
Busted.
And the famous and notorious 10-yard bump.
Busted.
Jimmy Hoffa may be somewhere, but it sure as heck ain't here at Giant Stadium. I'd say we can go home calling this myth busted to kingdom come.
Okay.
Are you satisfied?
I'm satisfied.
Well, act satisfied.
What do you want?
I want to go home.
I'll go home then. Shut up.
Shut up.
On this episode of MythBusters, it's all aboard with Cary Grant and Tori when they test the tall tale of a train track disaster.
That's gonna be so cool!
Is it possible for a passing train to suck you off the platform? Then Jamie and Adam take to the skies to tackle the classic classroom myth.
Learning every minute.
That you can't make a concrete glider fly.
This thing was done.
Who are the MythBusters? Adam Savage.
Ants are all over my head, man.
And Jamie Heineman.
Gets me all worked up just looking at it.
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience.
That was heavy.
Joining them, Grant Imahara.
Go get him, boy.
Tori Belleci.
Somebody order some exploding pants.
And Carrie Byron.
Oh, God.
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test.
So, Grant, you take the train a lot, which is kind of weird because most people drive or take planes.
I like the train.
That's cool. But, you know, there's this one myth, though, that if you stand too close to a passing train, it can create suction and pull you into the train.
There is a yellow line to help protect you, so maybe that has something to do with it.
This urban folklore conjures up every commuter's worst nightmare. Can the air pressure caused by a fast-moving train actually suck a person right off the platform and onto the rails?
I have an original idea. Let's start in the small scale. Let's go find like a model train and build a wind tunnel and do some testing to see if you actually even have any suction.
The first order of business is to set up a wind tunnel and blow some smoke across a model train. So while Grant huffs and puffs putting the wind tunnel together, Tori and Carrie get to go model shopping. At San Antonio Hobby, Frank the Train Man has everything the guys need. And he's got some positive news for the myth.
If you stand too close to a train and it's going fast enough, it can suck you under.
Now, about those toy trains.
What's the scale on this?
This is 1/29th scale. The gauge of the track is G.
Wow.
I've actually been doing a lot of research on people doing aerodynamic tests on trains, and 1/25th, 1/29th, around this is the perfect scale for wind tunnel tests.
So they have their working scale. And here comes the fun part, choosing their choo-choos.
What I wouldn't give to have one of these when I was a kid.
There's no better way of finding your inner child than stalking the aisles of a hobby store.
Let go of the trains. Let go of the trains, honey.
Remember the golden rule.
What's that?
You never have too many trains.
Before the guys derail this sequence completely,
now that's cool.
A timely phone call from Station Master Grant gets everything back on track.
Hello?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Grant, what's going on?
Hey, I've been reading up on the research and I have some new information for you.
All right, go ahead.
A freight train, it's got a much rougher aerodynamic profile than a passenger train. A passenger train's pretty smooth, and that can generate a higher slipstream at half the speed of a passenger train.
So according to Grant, odd-shaped freight cars might be the best bet. But as the myth is all about an unsuspecting commuter, they take home a passenger train as well.
Man down.
Man down.
Back at Grant Central Station, our station master is busy making a wind tunnel. And using a NASA-inspired idea, it's a breeze.
What they use in regular commercial wind tunnels is a honeycomb. It's many densely packed small holes.
These holes reduce turbulence from the wind source and smooth out the airflow. And check out the big brain on Grant, because he's found a cut-price substitute for high-tech honeycomb. Drinking straws, 47,000 of them. And with the wind tunnel ready to blow, it's time to get set for the test. But what are they looking for?
There are 3 areas that we're going to be looking at. There's a high-pressure zone right in front of the train at the nose, the slipstream, which is a thin layer of air going over the sides, and then right at the back of the train, a low-pressure area called the wake. Hopefully with this, we'll be able to see smoke swirling around at the back, which would tell us that it's getting sucked into there.
So Grant thinks the wake is the key to this myth. Could this swirling ultra-low pressure vortex, kind of a mini tornado, be powerful enough to pull someone off their feet and onto the rails.
Tori, for this first test, do you want to turn the wind on? And Grant, you could be the scout. I'll turn on the smoke.
The team's wind tunnel works a treat, so testing proceeds. First, with a passenger car.
Right there, little cyclone.
That's good. You see the little vortex.
And then the odd-shaped freight cars, which, like Grant suggested, appear to cause more turbulence.
We're getting a lot of vortex at the end here.
It's tough to see it in real time, but the high-speed camera confirms what our 3 sets of eagle eyes suspected. The small-scale trains really do suck.
You still have a little collection of smoke right behind the train.
And that's exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Based on the experiments that we have just seen today, I really do believe it's possible for somebody to be sucked off a platform. Because the mini wakes look like they could definitely pull at least something nearby right into it.
That's a green light to proceed to the next station. And Carrie, for one, is excited.
We need full scales, full wind, full-size people getting sucked into the train. That's gonna be so cool!
Concrete glider.
The classic engineering school challenge, you can't make a lead balloon, you cannot make a glider out of concrete.
That's it. Somehow we've got to build a glider out of concrete.
Adam and Jamie are on familiar ground when it comes to taking off with crazy contraptions.
Pilot to Bombardier, do you read, over?
The MythBusters have attempted to get airborne with a jetpack.
It really is ridiculous.
Launch Jade the Simulate into the bay with bottle rockets.
3, 2, 1!
And take Adam on a helium life raft ride.
Oh, it's very satisfying. Oh, I shouldn't do that.
But this time, it's mission seemingly impossible. Can our intrepid duo conquer the skies with a concrete glider?
How are we going to get around the fact that concrete, to my knowledge, always has like rocks and gravel in it that's going to make it really hard to make a glider out of?
Well, the key component in concrete is Portland cement. And the gravel and the sand and things like that can be substituted for other things, and some of them are a lot lighter weight.
Oh, so I mean, we should actually just do a bunch of testing. First of all, mix up some concrete mixes that use lighter weight aggregates and see if we can actually lose a lot of that heavy weight.
Yeah.
So first up, they're going to learn how to lighten up their heavyweight building material.
This is a standard concrete mix. It's 1 part cement, 2 parts sand, and 3 parts gravel. The gravel and sand that go in this is what is known as the aggregate. The gravel in this particular mix is about standard, and it's about maximum 3/8 of an inch in diameter.
In addition to the standard mix, Jamie makes up 3 more with various lightweight aggregates. Beanbag foam beads, pumice, and lastly, a material made up of tiny glass beads called microballoons. Now they just have to let it set. And because watching concrete dry ain't exactly Emmy award-winning material, let's come back when that's done. Concrete. With 6 billion cubic meters made every year, it's the most common man-made substance on the planet. Buildings, bridges, and freeways are all made of this ubiquitous material. But the question is, can you use it to make a glider? And will it fly? For answers, Adam and Jamie have come to Moffett Field NASA Ames Research Center for a crash course in aerodynamics. And glider guru Dr. Steve Smith has some good news.
I'll bet you can make a concrete glider that'll fly. The whole question is weight. So if you build a concrete glider with some reinforcing structure inside and a lot of filler so that the concrete plus all the other stuff is still pretty light, then of course the speed required to fly to make enough lift to support its weight will come down, and you may get down slow into the typical range that modern sailplanes fly.
Have you ever heard of a glider being made out of concrete?
So actually, yeah, the Germans experimented with a concrete winged glider in World War II to be used as a glide bomb. I think it had some kind of a steel core, steel structure inside for structural strength, but they basically use concrete as a very cheap, quick way to form a wing shape around it.
What are typical modern gliders made of?
Well, the modern racing sailplanes are made out of pretty exotic materials these days. They're mostly built out of carbon fiber reinforced epoxy, Kevlar, fiberglass, all the good modern space age structures.
So in our research, we've turned up this glide ratio. What is that?
Well, the glide ratio is the slope that you travel along as you glide. So a typical glide ratio for a modern sailplane might be, let's say, 40 or 60 to 1. And what that would mean is that you would glide 40 miles horizontal for every mile that you would drop, or say 5,000 or 6,000 feet. And so that ratio is the slope that you would make.
Now, there is definitely a lot of food for thought that we got from Dr. Smith here. I thought this was totally ridiculous, and I thought maybe we'd get something that would fall less hard. But, I mean, the information we got here says that we ought to be able to make something that's actually fairly respectable as aerodynamic and made out of concrete.
Back at the shop, and the concrete is ready for the weigh-in. And no one is surprised when the standard concrete, the one with the rocks in it, is heavier than the alternative aggregates.
Based on this first test, there's some pretty impressive variances in the weight. Everything from foam beads at 68 pounds up to concrete at 115. It looks like we'll be able to come up with a mixture that might be light enough. The question is, can it stand up to the type of pressures we're going to put it under? We're going to have to do some strength testing.
In other words, they need to beef up their lightweight concrete recipe with some muscle.
The single biggest problem with the concrete glider is the concrete. Concrete has compressive strength, but no tensile strength, which means you can put a block of it down on the ground. You can sit hundreds of thousands of pounds on that block and it won't crush. But you can make a thin sheet of it, push it through with your finger, and it'll crack. So we're going to need to look at ways to strengthen the concrete. And one of the ways is with an additive material that adds a structure inside the concrete that makes it more flexible and more prone to bending without breaking.
So Adam and Jamie need to know which concrete reinforcers work best in thin slabs. And they cast up several, including carbon fiber mesh and pre-stressed cable. After leaving them to cure, Jamie is ready to test their tensile strength with his trusty force gauge.
Okay, so this is cable reinforcement. Ooh, very significant. We tested 4 different types of reinforcements. Each of those increased the strength to some degree on the concrete samples. The standout was the cable reinforcement.
So Adam and Jamie have some concrete information, and they've passed Aerodynamics 101 with flying colors. It's time to get started on the build.
So I don't know if you've heard, but we're going to do this as a build-off.
I hate build-offs.
I know you hate the build-offs, but look at it this way. While we might be able to make a more successful concrete glider working together, working separately, we're going to illustrate 2 completely different ways of solving the problem and cover a lot more ground.
Whatever.
The pointless competition. So loved by fans, so hated by the MythBusters. Adam hates losing, which happens a lot.
I'm gonna kick your goldfish ass.
And Jamie, well, there's nothing about these head-to-head contests he enjoys, except the cheating. Which is why Adam is insisting on guidelines set in concrete. There must be total secrecy. The glider can be built to any scale, and the winner will be determined by who achieves the longest relative flight. So let's hear from competition Scrooge Jamie, who he thinks will win.
I have no idea who's gonna win, and I don't care.
Bah, humbug. We're back on track with the tall tale that a passing train could make your day really suck. The story so far has seen Carrie, Grant, and Tori testing toy trains in a wind tunnel, and the results mean they can move on to the next chapter.
Well, that was really interesting. I mean, looks like we do have some suction. Those small-scale tests definitely showed some smoke vortex at the end of the model trains. I guess the real question now is that enough suction to pull you off into the tracks?
Well, I mean, now we need to go to full scale, and we still haven't found anybody who's willing to let us use their train. So, any ideas how we're going to test this one?
I got an idea. I think we should get out the chicken cannon and set that up and choose one of us as a test subject, purely at random, not it, and then see what effect the increased wind speed has on our bodies.
The chicken cannon will give the team an idea of what kind of air pressure and wind speed it takes to topple a typical guy like Tori.
Wow, that's so hot on you.
Well, thank you.
But before they turn Tori into chicken cannon fodder, they're going to do a preliminary test with a force gauge and harness.
All right, ready?
I'm
Here
ready.
comes the train.
See how hard that was? It was like pulling down a tree.
The force gauge clocks in at 70 pounds per square inch, which tells them two things.
Don't try this at home. We're professionals.
We are professionals.
70 psi is the kind of force a real train will need to generate to suck someone onto the rails. Plus, they have a number to aim for when they calibrate the chicken cannon. So, let's dust off the MythBusters' favorite.
Why do you have the chicken cannon out?
Because we're gonna start shooting each other with it.
It was first used to test if a stray, high-flying bird could crash through an airplane canopy.
This is a frozen chicken.
And this is no toy. You're watching frozen poultry propelled at 121 miles per hour.
Wow!
But on this test, the only chicken inside is nervously shuffling his feet at the business end of the barrel.
I don't think it's gonna push me over. But then I've been wrong before.
Now, remember, they're not just doing this for fun. If they can work out what kind of wind speed and air pressure knocks Tori off his feet, they'll have some data to crunch when they get to play with a full-size train.
We're just gonna send Tori just poof, straight into the fence behind us.
That'd be
Tori.
cool.
You're the crash test dummy after Buster.
Because he's not as easy to repair as Buster, on their first test, they're starting at just 30 psi. And to measure the wind speed, Grant has a handy little device called an anemometer.
What we're going to do is set Tori up just as if he were standing on a railway platform waiting for a train. So in other words, he's not going to be braced and ready to be hit. He's just going to be standing on his feet just like anyone would be standing.
Wait a minute. I'm just trying to think, what is the worst that can happen here? Anybody? All right, let's go.
Tori plucks up all his courage, checks the newspaper for great deals on health insurance, and tries not to brace for the blast.
I hear funny noises. Must be the train.
The 30 psi gust rustles up a wind speed of 24 miles per hour, and Tori is slightly unbalanced. And that turns out to be good data. Because in Europe, British Rail has set a maximum safe wind speed on the platform of 24 miles per hour.
Apparently that threshold works.
Yeah, 24 miles an hour.
Now the guys want to ramp it up and see what it takes to suck you off the platform. Adam and Jamie are not only taking on the myth that you can't make a glider out of concrete, they're flying solo.
So what I'm going to do is buy a model glider kit, and I'm going to add weight to it until it just barely achieves what I need it to achieve. And then I will use that kit either as a mold or a guide for creating a concrete airplane.
Remember, the rules state they can build on any scale. So Jamie goes shopping for a toy glider to use as a mold.
This type of airplane right here has the most exceptional lift to it, much stronger material.
Jamie selects two to test with. The first is a stealth bomber model that has excellent lift but is extremely unstable. And the second is a U-2 spy plane, which, with its glider-like wings, also has great lift but is less sensitive.
Well, thanks, Bob.
Okay, Jamie, nice doing business with you guys.
You too. See you soon.
All right.
Back at M5, and while Jamie is using pragmatic shortcuts, Adam is taking a more intuitive approach. Basically, he's going to wing it.
I'm trying to come up with a visceral understanding of exactly what it takes to make something fly. I don't just want to follow someone else's design and then have it screw up on me because, well, I just followed someone else's design.
Incredibly, Adam's make-it-up-as-you-go-along approach seems to be working.
That's cool. Right there,
That's cool. I'm gonna do some actual, like, almost kite tests with this, just to try and figure out how this kind of size of glider might work. I'm just trying to learn all about everything I need to know within a day. Okay, learning every minute.
It's a learning curve of precipitous proportions, but the addition of a tail fin provides some stability, and he seems pretty happy.
That's good. That's a good test.
Which means it's time to move on.
I want to do a little more research. I might want to rebuild this thing in wood just to try the design out. Still not quite as heavy as the concrete, but if the wood flies, then I don't see any reason why the concrete shouldn't be able to.
Now that looks like a crash and burn.
That was about a 1-to-1 glide ratio. Like it fell about, it looks about 25 feet away. It's about how high I am. And that was still a little bit lighter than the concrete will be.
And with take two no better, it looks like it's time for the MythBuster patented Plan B.
So if I had built a concrete airplane this size, I mean, it would be known as a rock. I'm gonna need to scale back, smaller, to try and get something successful.
Meanwhile, Jamie has spent an hour rigorously testing his shop-bought model gliders.
Okay, that was a good test.
And he's pretty sure a hybrid of the stealth bomber wing with the fuselage of the U-2 bomber is the best flyer.
Well, it looks like this wing design is the winner.
Next, Jamie weighs down the model to see what the maximum payload is.
Well, based on this test, I believe this is about the maximum that I could go. I think I should be under this, but definitely no more than this. I'm gonna go ahead and weigh this now, and you know, we'll see what kind of volume of concrete that translates to.
So according to Jamie, if he can make this glider out of concrete and keep it to less than 800 grams, he might just get this myth off the ground. Millions of us commute by train every day. So is it possible we're just one step away from disaster? And if a fast-moving train can really suck you off the platform, the next generation of super trains traveling at 223 miles per hour could be lethal. Putting his body on the line for the myth, Tori has discovered a blast of air at 30 psi, which generates a wind speed of 24 miles per hour, won't knock you off your feet.
That was nothing. Let's do 100 psi.
Tori, how about 50 psi?
I'll give you 50. Oh, dang. It blew my cover off. Whoa! That was sweet.
Tori's still standing, but only just.
Didn't knock you over on your butt, though.
No, but it definitely knocked me back. It lifted my shield, and then it just ripped the newspaper to shreds.
That 50 psi shot of air notched up a wind speed of 46 miles per hour, and Tori struggled to stay standing. It looks like the team have their knockout numbers.
So really the indication, if your paper shreds when the train passes, you're standing too close.
You might be standing too close. If you're not prepared for this kind of wind speed hitting you, I don't think you would have the reaction time to be able to hold yourself up. You would possibly fall into the train.
But the big question is yet to be answered. Can a full-scale train generate that kind of wind speed in reverse? Will the wake at the rear of the train suck at 46 miles per hour? Fortunately for Tori, he won't be the one standing on the platform to find out. That job goes to Buster's ballistics gel brother, Ted. Our fall guy needs to be as lifelike as possible. That means building a rigid frame to support the legs and gel-coated ropes to bolster the arms.
This is the ballistic material, and I've coated a piece of rope. And this is just so that when we pull it out, the arms don't just rip off the body.
Once Ted pulls himself together, he gets filled up from the neck down. Tori pours in enough ballistics gel to fatten up our mannequin to a healthy 200 pounds. Big enough to prove almost anyone could be sucked off a railway platform to a grisly death.
Yeah, it's kind of weird looking, huh?
The weigh-in confirms he's in fighting shape.
207 pounds. He's a big boy.
It's all muscle.
Yeah, okay.
Now all Ted needs is to get ahead. Modern gliders or sailplanes make it look so easy. Their state-of-the-art designs and space-age materials contribute to incredible glide ratios of over 40-to-1. That's 40 miles of travel to 1 mile of vertical drop. Adam and Jamie have got the tough job of trying to recreate that effortless flight with a glider made of concrete. So far, Jamie's having some success. He's made a mold from his toy glider and carefully mixed cement, sand, fiberglass, and water into paper-thin wing sections. And the fresh concrete mix is almost ready for curing. Jamie may be up, and away.
I don't know how to build airplanes.
But Adam is still grounded.
So I looked into the origins of the glider, and I come across Cayley and his proto-original coachman-carrying glider. Cayley was an amazing aeronautical experimentalist. He died, I think, in the mid-1800s, 50 years before the Wright brothers' first flight with a powered airplane. And yet, the experimentation he was doing on wing shapes and glider shapes and the forces involved of lift and drag are absolutely astonishing, considering that his work went largely ignored for decades after he died. His design for a glider is not what you think of as a modern glider or airplane wing, and yet it's been proven since then that it actually works and that it is an effective design for a glider. I think it's as good a place as any to start with this.
So Adam finally has a design. Now he's got some catching up to do.
Well, now I got to draw out the pattern on this foam, and then I got to start like sanding and sculpting it, really.
With the mold ready to go, Adam lays out carbon fiber mesh for strength. And then he casts his lightweight concrete mix onto the foam mold. And like Jamie, it's just a question of getting his concrete glider to cure. But this being MythBusters, time is of the essence.
I am prepping my mold to hopefully set faster than 28 days, which is the recommended setting time for this concrete.
Keeping the concrete moist in a warm environment is as much as they can do to encourage the curing process. Concrete sets in hours, but curing is a chemical process that takes weeks. Jamie is first to find out if their accelerated curing technique has worked.
That's got to be about the thinnest piece of concrete you ever saw.
So far, so good. But as he assembles the wing sections, Jamie finds he has a weightier problem than the curing process. His maximum weight of 800 grams has been busted.
Right now it weighs about 1,300 grams, which is about twice what it needs to weigh for it to be in the worst case scenario where it just barely is flying. And this is without any of the other structure on it. This is just the basic, this wing shape.
But the Berate one has an ingenious solution. He's going to use the bottom sections of the wing as the entire wing.
This was originally just the bottom section, not a very structural part of the original wing. But seeing as how it was so overweight, now this becomes the actual wing itself. By putting a little bend in it, I think we'll get to the same place.
With the weight problem taken care of, assembly begins. And in a last-minute design addition, he uses some ultra-light fishing line to add some tension to his ultra-fragile glider. With Jamie on the runway and ready for takeoff, let's find out how his wingman Adam is doing.
Feels good. I've got some hopes for this.
With the Cayley glider set, it's time to release it from the mold. And using an old model maker's trick, Adam dissolves the foam with acetone. But now he's got an issue with excess baggage.
This thing weighs a ton. I don't have a target weight. Just super crazy light was what I was hoping for. So I got a bit of work pulling out as much weight as I can.
So to get the Cayley glider down to a reasonable flying weight, Adam and his angle grinder have got a long day ahead. Our team of train spotters have tested toy trains for turbulence. They've toppled Tori with a tug of war and turned him into chicken cannon fodder. It's time to take this test to the full scale. After months of searching, our researchers have found a railroad in Albuquerque, New Mexico that's willing to give it up for science. The line is still being built, but there's enough track to push this rail runner engine to its legal speed limit of 79 miles per hour.
So, Robert, have you ever seen anything sucked towards the track, on the station?
Me personally, I never have. I've heard of it.
So Robert, our driver, thinks it's plausible, but the engine he's driving is hauling 2 passenger cars, which we know create less turbulence than freight cars. But this legend involves unsuspecting commuters waiting on a platform, so it's really the best way to test the myth.
Yeah, I was very pessimistic about this myth until I saw the size of this train. It's huge. I can't believe anybody's gonna give us something this big to play with. I could see this actually being true.
If Ted could speak, he'd probably be screaming, "Why me?" But misery truly does love company, and he won't be alone out there.
Something else we'd like to try today, we brought a baby stroller with us.
It's not part of the myth, but train traveling parents often have their stroller with them. And because it's on wheels, the guys think it will help illustrate the suction effect. The stroller may get pulled off the platform, even if Ted and his 200 pounds are unmoved.
Now his back wants to be to the train. It's like he's got a headphone on. He's listening to music. He doesn't know the train's coming.
Okay.
The expression says it all. Ted ain't exactly confident, but Tori thinks his chances of survival are good.
My feeling is the train's gonna go through. There's probably gonna be a lot of rumbling. It might knock the dummy over, but I don't think the suction is actually gonna be strong enough to pull the dummy in.
Right here.
The last thing to do before the potentially lethal drive-by is to set up Grant's wind speed gauges. With that done, it's time to set this test in motion. 3 miles away, Robert set his train a-rolling, slowly building up to the legal speed limit of 79 miles per hour.
Should be here any second.
That was awesome!
That was intense. Ted's been tipped sideways, and the stroller snapped its line. In fact, it's taken out a camera.
So the stroller, the line snapped. It got pushed so hard.
Are you
and
serious?
sucked that way.
Oh, jeez. My God.
So any mom that has her stroller that close to the train.
But was it suction or was it more just the gust of air that pushed him over?
With so much happening so quickly, it's difficult to tell what's going on. But the replay seems to indicate the stroller being blown along the platform. And there's no sign of Ted getting sucked onto the tracks. The myth of the concrete glider has brought Adam and Jamie head-to-head in an aviation dogfight. And to find out who's going to be Top Gun and who's going to be the goose, it's time to get a visual on the enemy bogey.
Ta-da! Ah, well, it looks like something right out of Leonardo's day.
It's actually modeled on Cayley's glider. It is, in fact, his most successful glider that carried a person, and it weighs a bloody ton.
Yep. His thing is going to drop like a stone when he lets it go. I mean, you can see by the shape, it's not got very much lift involved. I'm guessing that it barely has any more lift than mine does, and yet it weighs several times as much. So I don't have a whole lot of hopes for it. Yours is a lot heavier than mine, but it's a lot sturdier. So it kind of nicely illustrates the trade-off. If you go for lightweight, you get something very fragile, which is what mine is.
Well, let's see your fragile, wilting bird of a plane.
Okay.
It looks like a glider.
I did testing on something that was a foam version of this.
Yeah.
And this is under the weight that I tested and still considered it to sail.
So it seems Jamie has taken Dr. Smith's advice about weight being the key and gone for a super light design. But will it hold together? And Adam, well, he's gone for stability. But will it generate enough lift to overcome its substantial weight? Next, and at the weigh-in,
in this corner, weighing in at...
the scales confirm Adam's worst fears. At just over 600 grams, Jamie's wilting bird is a featherweight.
This is basically concrete with a few pieces of string, and I think it's a fantastic attempt at foiling the myth that you can't make a glider out of concrete.
Adam is next, and with over 2 kilos of Cayley glider, he's definitely in the heavyweight division. So with a heavy heart and glider, Adam has defeat firmly in his grasp.
Let's set up a wind tunnel test so we can figure out how many different ways you've probably beaten me in this contest.
Okay.
Using Grant's drinking straw technique, Adam breezily whips up a wind tunnel.
The idea behind the drinking straws is that they make the flow of the wind coming out of the fan completely laminar. The blades create good vortex effects and all sorts of things about the wind that are turbulent. And by forcing them through drinking straws, it makes the flow much more what we call laminar and straight. And that should be perfect for getting a good test for us.
With the makeshift wind tunnel up and running, Adam and Jamie can measure their glider's lift-to-weight ratio. They'll do this by weighing the glider in front of the fan. Any lift their glider achieves will result in a weight reduction.
Yeah, I'm seeing, on average, probably about, just about a max of 200 grams of lift there.
By my best guess, my glider was receiving about 38% of its total weight in lift.
38% is impressive. With a decent launch speed, that will increase, and it may just be enough. Next up is Adam's Cayley glider.
Well, it's nice that I can feel some lift, but this thing is heavy.
His lift-to-weight ratio is well down on Jamie's. It's only generating half as much lift.
Yeah, it spikes up to 350.
My glider did not seem to perform as well as Jamie's, actually about half as well.
At this stage, Adam is thinking his heavyweight contender won't stand a chance against Jamie's featherweight champion. But with both fighters ready to rumble, it's time to pack up and head back to Nassau to let these concrete creations fly. Carrie, Grant, Tori, and Ted have survived a train track flyby. With no sign of the mythical suction on the first run, it's take 2. But this time, the train will be going backwards, with the blunt end leading and the aerodynamic engine at the rear.
Dang! Dude, look at the stroller.
Oh my God!
Look at the stroller. It got thrown off the platform. What?
Incredibly, Ted is still standing. He wasn't even blown back. But Grant's battery of wind gauges has its own tale to tell.
On our first run, with the train coming this way, and the aerodynamic tip leading, we had parallel to the train, wind speed of 49.9. The second run, with the flat end leading coming this way, we had on this one 26.8.
Whoa.
So the wind speed on that run was actually less.
So according to the figures from the chicken cannon tests, both runs generated enough wind to make a typical guy stumble. But it's all blowing straight out or parallel to the track. It looks like the turbulence, moving with the train and away from the track, trumps any wake effect there may be following the train. But Grant is a hardcore train spotter and wants just one more try.
I'm down here at ground zero, monitoring these anemometers, and it is really scary as the train passes and this huge cloud of dust and everything, and it gets stuff in my teeth. It's very exciting though, but but scary.
Once again, Robert the driver winds his engine up to full speed. Ted finds himself face down on the platform, and the stroller's missing in action. But how did Grant survive the blast?
Can we calibrate it by the gravel in your face and the depth that it's gone?
Yeah.
So no one was sucked onto the train tracks for a dice with death. And with no obvious results, it's back to the shop to study the high-speed camera and piece together the data.
Looks like all the wind is running parallel to the train.
I'm definitely not seeing any suction.
The first and third runs had the most violent effects, but there was no sign of any suction. The winds blasting outwards and sideways were far stronger than any vortex that may have been created behind. If Ted had felt any suction, that tie rope would be as taut as fencing wire.
Knocked his headphones right off, and look at the stroller. It's
There it
just
goes.
lifting, and it's running parallel to the train in the slipstream.
All that turbulence is parallel.
So in the end, there's nothing like a full-scale test to sort the fact from fiction. And this one looks like a foregone conclusion.
So what do we come to for a conclusion for train section?
Oh, it's busted.
Totally busted.
But still really, really dangerous to stand that close.
You don't want to stand very close to the train.
You do not want to be there.
Unless you're psycho.
Ow!
Well, Adam, what are you doing? It's time to test these things.
Are you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Me too.
Okay, let's go.
It's launch day, and in search of perfect test conditions, our pioneering pilots touch down back at the NASA Ames Research Center.
We're back at Moffett Field's hangar number 2 where we shot helium football, and it's ideal for the concrete glider tests for the same reasons it was ideal for helium football. We can close the doors of this huge space and eliminate any wind.
Dr. Steve Smith, MythBusters' font of all flying facts, is there to check out the designs and offer some last-minute advice.
Crucial question on this one is going to be where the center of gravity is so that it trims.
Well, where should it be?
So somewhere probably between 25 and 30% of the length, maybe.
About right here? It turns out that it's not just about reducing all the weight possible from this, because if it's super light but balanced incorrectly, it's still just a stone.
Next, Jamie presents his featherweight wilting bird. But does Dr. Smith think it'll fly more like a paperweight?
Yeah, that's impressive. That's beautiful. Cables stay bracing and everything. Look at that. Wow.
It's paper thin.
Wow. Oh.
Dr. Smith's upbeat reaction to their designs has fueled their enthusiasm. But his advice means Adam and Jamie have some tweaking, trimming, and testing to do. To get the balance right, Adam is stealing another of George Cayley's design ideas and adding a gondola. The weight beneath the wing can be adjusted to move the center of gravity. Plus, it should stabilize the glider in flight. Jamie has also been busy shifting his glider's center of gravity further forward.
It looks stupid, but we don't care about that right now. It's a concrete airplane. What are you going to do?
It may have been called Big Nose at glider school, but it's ready to fly. And while Jamie has been picking his glider's nose, Adam's been getting some launch advice.
I figured out with Dr. Smith's help, actually, Dr. Smith figured out with my help. And by help, I mean I supplied him with measurements. He was able to calculate that it should fly at around 20 to 22 miles per hour, about 30 feet per second, if it is to hit its ideal speed to glide ratio.
And because his throwing arm won't manage 2 miles an hour, never mind 22, he's got a cunning plan. He's going to use a zip line, tow line, and quick release.
That mark is where the pin gets pulled out and my glider starts flying on its own.
Adam then optimistically marks out a target distance of 50 feet.
That's how far I want to travel.
Jamie, who has decided to hand launch, looks on unimpressed.
At this point, if I were to guess, there's going to be something go wrong with the kind of scheme that he's got for launching it properly. But we'll have to wait and see.
Now, I'm about to let go of this. You got the hook?
Yep.
Oh, buddy.
Okay.
Everything's in place. I'm going to go down there and grab the tow line.
Last call for the departure of Concrete Airways Flight 101.
3, 2, 1, go.
Well, the launch was successful, and Adam's Cayley glider has survived relatively intact. But how far did it glide?
Well, let's see where oh, there's my 50-foot mark, 55 feet, so I didn't make that. Looks kind of like I hit maybe at like 20 feet. So I didn't get my glide ratio I was hoping for.
But hold on, there's a catch. Adam thinks his glider released from the zip line and began flying on its own at a height of 20 feet before gliding a distance of 20 feet. But there's been a recount.
My glider released from its catch off of its guideline at about 9 feet off the ground. It then flew close to 34 feet before hitting the ground. Now, 4 times 9 is 36, so 34 feet means I came devilishly close to a 4-to-1 glide ratio. I'm stunned, actually. I could not be more pleased with these results. I know I was shooting for 55 feet, but really, I was hoping for anything over a solid drop into the ground. It flew very stably. That is really clear, which means that, I mean, we only had one chance. I only had one chance to trim this thing so that it would fly straight, and it did. That is, I feel really, really good.
Incredibly, Adam has gone from underdog to top cat. Jamie steps up to the plate, but he's stubbornly sticking to a manual launch from the stairwell, despite Adam's successful flight.
I don't want to screw around and, get some kind of, zip line going and all this kind of stuff. I'm just going to throw it and see what it does.
With a spring in his step, Adam measures out the target Jamie needs to exceed to succeed.
We know that Jamie's 28 feet off the ground, so if he wants to hit a 4-to-1 glide ratio, he's got to get his plane to hit the ground at 112 feet.
Calling all passengers for Concrete Airways Flight 102.
Okay. In 3, 2, 1. Well, there you go.
Jamie's wilting bird took flight and then took a nosedive. In other words, his concrete glider was all concrete and no glide.
Congratulations, you won.
I'm going to enjoy this for the short while that it lasts.
Jamie's 1-to-1 glide ratio was not even close to matching Adam's soaring achievement of 4-to-1. And, it's possible Adam will let Jamie forget about this.
It's not really about who wins or loses. It's really just about illustrating the concept. But I won.
But unlikely. All gloating aside, what about the myth? Did the guys prove anything about the concept of a concrete glider?
Aerodynamics of planes don't scale up very easily from small to human size. But that being said, I think there is actually a tiny chance that that one could build a human-sized concrete glider. I'm not sure that I would get into it, but I'd certainly give Buster a ride.
Well, Adam, I don't think either of us were really that happy with the gliders, but we did prove that it can be done.
I'd call it plausible, but not recommended.
Yeah, the big thing for me is that you only got one shot at it. It's brittle. If you crash with the things, it's over.
But, I think we also proved that if you really think through your launch and you do it correctly, that you can actually get some gliding done.
We're strutting a little bit, are we?
Sure.
Okay, well...
I'll enjoy it while I can.
So we're plausible.
Plausible.
But not recommended.
Exactly.